This doesn't just feel like boating, it feels like theatre. Ladies and gents, the Evo R4 Icone. This thing, like, this is the boat that transforms, but from what I've just understood from the whole morning on board today in beautiful Italy, welcome, it's not just going to transform your day, it's possibly going to transform your whole summer. So that's what this video is going to be about. We're going to do a super deep dive into the features and the operation of this thing because it's super unique. It is a boat that just gives you extra real estate in all points of the compass when you want it. And then when you're underway, you've got this super ultra stylish and mega comfortable thing to get going in possibly a wide variation of conditions. So that's going to be in the next video. If you're interested in a serious buyer, do join us because it's a beautiful day and we're in the Italian Riviera. My name's Dan Jones, welcome to Dan's Boat Life. So we will start out here at the back. It's a custom Besson Zone, I think that's how you pronounce it correctly, jump in the comments if I'm incorrect, platform that was designed for this company, and it actually, when in operation, it extends out back to give you more real estate, and then you can choose if you want to have it in beach club mode like I've got it right now, and it will lower a little bit more if you wish, or you can raise it into passerelle mode. So if you're in the Mediterranean, and I know a lot of my mates are watching from the southern hemisphere, you back it up to docks in the Mediterranean and you step off to the restaurant like that. So it's nice to have that choice. But for us in the southern hemisphere, it is also nice to be able to raise that back platform if you're in a really big, say, following seat, for example. So it's going to be a little bit more comfortable for you in that scenario. But just from your perspective, when you are in this scenario, because of the extra beam, it feels like a mega yacht. It feels so cool because we've got these gaps through all the teak slats here on the platform, so that's allowing water and also air to pass through. It gives us a little bit of stabilization. However, we also have a gyro stabilizer downstairs because, and we will touch on this in the next video, when you increase the beam, you know, it's over 6 meters, 6.3 meter beam, fully extended, you do actually need some stabilization because we can take something like 12 people on this boat. But look at the entrance, it's so grand when you get on up your own stairs, which are deployed, and they will then go in the reverse direction when you raise it into passerelle mode. And that's just one of the features, and I'm on the next one right now. So this, in driving mode, this is actually the side of the boat, so it's the bulwarks. So they would ordinarily be in this position just here. But the owners of this factory, they actually have a background and a knowledge in trains. So steel, like, you know, obviously if you're in the business of engineering trains, you're going to understand the strengths and the loads required to get a big chunk of steel and extend it out to the side of your boat. So that's exactly what they've done. We've got two track systems, one here and another one here, which we'll dive into in more detail in the next video. But from your perspective, the operation, it's just a simple button press. It's just out or in. And this floor, when it's in the deployed section, as it is right now, it's a level floor like this. But then when you stow it, the whole thing comes in and it neatly stows and it then becomes the side. So it's really clever because now, look, we've got all this extra space. We can totally turn it into party mode. People can sit up here and you can actually enjoy this space. But then in terms of an operational perspective, we have our cleats back aft because that's the strong point just there. And if you come in close and have a look at these little points here, that's where we hang our fenders from. So we have those, you'll see them dotted throughout the boat. We will park the boat in the next video for those of you who are interested. So I just think it's super cool because it really does transform the space and you can then design how you wish to use it. But centrally mounted here is what you would expect on a luxury Mediterranean style day boat. So it's a proper sun lounge and a few people are going to be comfortable on this. You could absolutely drive this boat with passengers out here. even though it is a big open transom, it's not a dangerous boat to drive. It doesn't have any awkward acceleration or movements. It's very yacht-like in the way she behaves. So guests are going to be safe back aft here, in my opinion. It's also a super party zone because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and big subwoofer underneath. This is, I think they've really gone for the minimalist design features on this boat, and you're going to notice that as we make our way through. A lot of this sort of stuff is hidden. So it's the design has been thought about in minute detail from what I observe. So our swim shower is just here, and this is the operation for the wings, for the passerelle, for the engine hatch lift as well. It's all very simple and sort of no nonsense. You don't need to be an engineer to work it out. These are the stoppers for when they are in the closed position, and that's your shore power. But when you start your day, you essentially just go in here. Again, minimalist, you wouldn't even know it was there, but all of your battery switches and fusing is actually in this location. So nice and hidden. But then if you just come across on the starboard side, excuse me sniffling, I had a long flight from the States to get to Europe and I didn't handle the overnight flying so well. This is actually our generator and gyro panels. So we can do generator operation, gyro, and then we've also got some alarms just here. So it's nice and simple, and again, we're keeping things clean. So basically when we start our day, we can go from shore to ship's power, fire up the batteries, and then all we're doing is essentially going into the Helm and swiping our key fob at the Volvo system, bringing them alive with the ignitions, and we're ready to go for the day. So it's super cool. So yeah, the styling, it is aggressive, it is super unique, and there's even some air intakes on the side which have got quite a bit of a powerful impression to them. They have been designed to filter out the salt because they do face forward, and I was questioning whether that's a good idea or not, but it's been factored into the design. A couple more speakers and we have some down lights. So we do actually have protection until about 1.5 meters aft. So this seat here, everyone is going to be in the shade, but remember we are in the Mediterranean, so they do focus on having extra sun here. Talk to your dealer as to whether aft shade options are an option for Australia. I would love to see some custom cool funky umbrellas mounted in this swim platform, like plonk plonk, one in each corner. I think that would look so cool. I would do them in black. So okay, so apparently it's already an option. So great, we're thinking along the same lines. So getting access into the engine bay, the primary access is underneath this hatch. We're going to do that later in the video, but there is a storage bin, a deep storage bin underneath this sun lounge. However, you don't always have to open it. So if everyone's hanging out in the sun lounge, you can actually chuck a fender and some lines in here, and we have the same thing again on the other side. So for just stowing a couple of quick fenders, that's probably where you're going to go. And if you're doing the full Mediterranean style mooring and you need to get out all of your fenders, I'd keep them in that location. But this is quite a nice place to hang out because you do have protection from the sun, you got total protection from the wind, and you got good communication with your friends going inside. The one thing that's worth noting, we have multiple layout options. So with the R4, we are in the cabin version. There is open style versions, and there's also a walk around version. So jump on the website, I'll leave the link down below in the description, and have a look at it, because quite a lot, depending where you are in the world, if you need the full air conditioning and climate control that we have available on this style, then go for it. But if you want the full on open summer boat, because that's how you boat, go for the open version. So, and there are some differences. They do take the glass and the slope of this glass here in a slightly different angle on the open style, and depending on whether you go for the walk around or the standard version, you're going to have a different amount of space in this area, because you can option it with walk around side decks. We don't need the walk around side decks because we actually have a door on midships port side. We're going to get to that in a second. But before we get there, just appreciate the interior, because one thing, we've been driving this boat today already, and it's really quiet. It's really quiet in here. It's quite a comfortable ride. So if you're someone that has some driving to do to get to your destination, like here, like today, we came from Sorrento and we drove around and we enjoyed the view and we're having a chat and having a drink along the way, you would really appreciate being inside this cabin because you are insulated, sound insulated, and temperature controlled. So being able to talk amongst yourselves from whoever is driving and whoever is sitting down here is much more possible than a fully open boat where you've got wind in your hair and engine noise, which you absolutely don't have on this one. So that's something to think about, but you need to decide on what your mission is as to whether that's suitable for you or not. Now, a few things are happening in this location. So we actually have a storage drawer underneath here, super comfortable. Obviously you'd be able to option this into different material and color choices, but this is actually an electric drop down table. So by utilizing the button just hidden underneath here, you can actually lower this table, and then there is a cushion downstairs in the cabin which will infill this area, essentially turning this into a day bed. But that's not just it. Currently, we've got it in driving position, stand up and drive, and that's what I've just been doing, which you're going to see in the next video. Comfortable, everything's kind of at hand, right where you need it. But if you want to do some longer driving, you can actually operate this button just here, and this whole seat will raise, and then you can actually push this cushion back. So then you're ready for long distance driving, or if you just find it more comfortable, you can then transition from that footrest to that footrest, and you're going to be comfortable sitting and driving. So we'll get into the Helm a little bit more in a second, because I just got to talk about the galley, because it's neat. It's so Italian. The minimalist thing is happening. The colors have been considered, and you know what? It makes sense. When you come to this place, I've just been completely amazed. Every corner we go around, you're just like, crikey, that's beautiful. Oh my God, that's amazing. Holy moly, it gets even better. Like, when you're surrounded by such beauty, you start to understand why the people that build boats here are considering the looks and the design to such a great degree. It makes complete sense. It's so fascinating when I go to different parts of the world, and you can actually see how the environment genuinely affects the way people build their boats. And it's cool. So, fridge, storage, and I've forgotten. More storage. Okay, so rubbish underneath here. And then we had that switch, diesel shut-offs, and that's the switch for operating the table. And this sink, it's one of these funky Italian ones, so that goes out like that. And that's got your hot and cold function just there. And I would say it pulls up as well, because I've seen those before. This is multiple charging points. This is dotted around the boat. But here's another one of these minimalist ideas. So these light switches have 3 functions because they didn't want to have too many buttons. So you can press it like a normal light switch. You can turn it this way and it'll do one set of lights. And you can turn it this way and it will do another set of lights. So you got to remember it, but that's the price for being cool, all right? So just remember that. That's your air conditioning operation, and we do actually have a very healthy amount of air conditioning vents right throughout this cabin, so it's not going to overheat. For my friends in Thailand and Singapore who will be thinking about this, we've got AC in all the corners throughout this space, so you are going to be comfortable even in a tropical environment. I've paid attention to that today, and I don't think it's a problem. We've got looks like a 4-burner hot plate. This one's an Electrolux, and we have quite a big amount of usable space for laying out platters, but you don't need to store all your food here. So we have one fridge, but we have another option downstairs, which we're going to get to in a second because I've got more that I want to show you. I think we should head out onto the foredeck first, and then we're going to come back to the Helm. So this is the side door, all right? So you actually have a grab handle here and here, but what you do, you press these unlock buttons down like that, and then you can push it open. However, if you got to send grandma forward, which you're probably not going to do, they have thought about that. So let me just see if I can remember. There we go. One of these cool buttons. Now, have a look at this. See what's happening? Isn't this considerate? So a safety rail is now deployed. So you come out, and if it's nighttime, we do have courtesy lights here so you don't trip there and embarrass yourself. And what you can do, the way to do it, 1 foot up, you can hold on to that, but then there's another handrail just here, and you can make your way forward. However, if you're not stable on your feet, don't come up here in rough conditions, because there isn't grab rails forward, and there shouldn't be, because we're trying to make the thing look cool, and that's the idea. So go to Pilates if you're worried about that, and work on your core strength, okay? Because if you're gonna have a boat like this, you kind of need to look cool. But we do have some exposure to waves at the moment, and you can decide whether this is rocking around or not, because we have a gyro. So we have a quick gyro, it is on, it's activated, it's powered up by the gen set, and this, oh, there you go, see these waves? So they should be rocking us around, but they're not, and reason being, it's because we have a gyro. So, anchor is stowed below here. We cover it in the next video, but essentially it's done in a 3-stage process. We have 3 buttons down at the dash. We press one that opens the door like this. We press another one that deploys the bow roller, and then the 3rd button deploys the chain. We do have a quick anchor windlass display, so we can see how much chain we've put out, and it works fine. It works fine because we have tested it this morning. We've got our navigation lights here, and these are the cleats for your bow. Super cool. I like how they've been done, essentially in the matte black there, very stylish. And I think, again, having the teak on the foredeck, bit of a European thing, but it certainly suits the boat. Very, very plush. I think it's nice. This is a forward-facing opening hatch for the main cabin downstairs. That's also an escape hatch, and you can see how the teak has got its own unique style as it makes its way down the center line, and then it meets what is really an aggressive and a stylish yet also practical windscreen. And the reason why I say practical, when you cut a windscreen off like at this height, some of you tall blokes, you talk to me in the comments about this all the time, the windscreen ends up in your line of sight and you can't see. So when you bring a windscreen all the way to the top like this, or higher like this, you tall blokes, you can see where you're going. And it's just a bit of a safety thing, because that's, makes a lot of sense, obviously. Double windscreen wipers, 1, 2, with the freshwater wash. And then I don't know, yeah. That's some natural air ventilation. That must be sucking a little bit of natural air downstairs. We don't need it because we have the AC, but that's definitely got some vibes about natural air. And we've got a proper grip roof up here. Being black and the Italian summer, I think it would be even worse than the Australian summer. But you know what? You can obviously just option it white if that's a concern to you, because it does look pretty cool in black. So we've got our navigation light, we've got some of our communications, and then we also have a GPS aerial. Would you go putting surfboards, that sort of thing, on the roof of this boat? I don't think so. I think this is a boat for looks and impact. So jump in the comments if you disagree with me. I think you probably want to keep the external lines of this boat as it is, because part of the enjoyment of being on something like this is the impression you have when you sail into another bay. People are going to be looking, people are going to be appreciating. It kind of feels good. So I think you want to roll with that. Don't load it up with roof racks and unnecessary items. Now this is important because you may need to utilize these cleats, because obviously this is not structural, nor is that. So factor that in, and also think about your final destination. If you're buying one of these, just think about what your berth looks like in your home port, and talk to your dealer, because you may need to do some customization of the cleat location to suit you, because you do need to think about some of the angles. Again, that's the price we pay for beauty. We have to be thinking about that sort of thing. But you need to think about these guys as a semi-custom builder. You know, they will, I don't think any two boats of this model are exactly the same. So you could definitely put them in that semi-custom bracket. And if you have an idea, I would be talking to them about your ideas and implementing them. So let's get to the Helm. In terms of how she drives, well, we'll cover it in the next video, but she behaves like a yacht. So if a lot of you are coming or stepping from a rib, for example, a luxury rib, or a smaller, lighter day boat, the differences that you're going to notice on this boat, it is her weight and mass and her hydrodynamics, because we've got the cutting angle at the front of the bow, but we do have quite high sides relative to our length. So we can maintain a reasonably aggressive boat speed through big wash, and we can stay dry, well, definitely dry in here, we're inside a cabin, but we can stay moderately dry considering the style of boat we are, and very comfortable. You will feel the mass of the vessel carrying through the waves and onto the next wave, and it's going to have less of an impact on the people on board. Hopefully that makes sense, but you can see more in detail in the next video. So I love this throttle placement. I always enjoy having throttles set quite a way aft of the wheel, literally just because it's more comfortable. So you can then rest your throttle hand here. You can obviously drive like that too. Switch it over to single lever mode, so if you were into big waves, that's quite a comfortable way to drive. This is your ignition, and that's your start-stop operation. We have our VHF accessible right at hand for our right hand as well. This is the quick chain counter, which is just in this location. You can also operate it using this. However, I'll show you the other buttons that I was talking about before. And being an IPS, we have full joystick control. And, you know, if you have the dynamic positioning system, you could just hold station, which I'm a big fan of, because I would like to drive a boat like this by myself. So because if I'm going to be using this boat in Europe, for example, once you've cleared all the ground lines at the marina, I'm going to want to hold station and tidy up my lines and fenders without getting my guests involved. I kind of want to do that myself, so I know where everything is. I know it's all tidy. Then we're ready to go fast and head to Capri. So you can just press that button and the boat's going to do the work and the thinking for you, and you do not have to involve anyone else. So it's just a bit of a relaxing way to boat. Single screen up here, and I think that's fine. We're not a fishing boat. We don't need to go crazy with data. It's really going to be navigation and engine diagnostics, which are going to be the most relevant pieces of data. I don't see people sort of driving with radar and all that sort of stuff. It's really not that style of boat. It's a summer, sunny day, beautiful weather kind of vessel. However, we've got this full widescreen extra SIMRAD display, which, as you can see, allows us to bring up extra information. Where I do see some techie sounder data being useful, it's for anchoring. Depending where you are in the world, if you want to have a good look at the bottom before you deploy your anchor, that might be a nice, useful thing to have. So this was the seat operation, which I mentioned before. We do actually have some storage above that, and this remote, this is relevant because if you are coming back to your boat at the dock and you need to raise the platform to get on your boat, you have a remote control for that. So you can actually stow it away when you've left the boat, or if the tide's changed, for example, if you're at a fixed dock, you can just raise it a little higher so you don't have to break your legs getting on. So these are all the buttons that I was talking about for operating the anchor. So you can open the hatch, deploy the bow roller, and then lower the chain, and then reverse the process with the other buttons. So it's all very logical. We've got windscreen wiper wash and operation. We've got lights, we've got horn, we've got bilges, we've got spares. I like that. It's not, some boats, for example, are going too heavy on the electronics and putting everything into the touchscreen displays, which in my personal experience might be taking things a little too far, because when you are operating the boat, sometimes you do just want to reach down and touch a switch without having to go into a menu and blah, 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 and you get lost because potentially you're busy enough as it is, looking out for people in the water or other boats or traffic. You've got enough things on your mind. I just want to press this button, open the thing, deploy the barrel roller and lower the chain, which just makes life a lot easier. So this is another one of these mini AC vents, if I didn't point that out before. So this well is essentially where you're probably going to stow a lot of your picnic wear and your stuff for the day. Are you going to cook so much on this boat? Jump in the comments, let me know what you think. I would argue that many of you are going to plan super luxury lunches and have your nice clothes and go out for lunch and maybe come back to the boat, or just bring something, pick up some food. So let me know what you think, but I think perhaps for that style of usage, it makes a bit of sense. So we actually have another fridge just here, and then we've got the panels for the 240, 230 in Europe and 24 volt all here. So all marked, and the fuses down below just there. So it's pretty logical. And then the fridge and storage up here, but they're strong magnets. I don't want to force them because it's a private boat, but storage up here, charging points along there. And so it's a good usable space. And I also see some of you are probably going to charter a captain from time to time. So this might be good for captain or say Stu to be in this area and prepping your lunch for the day for the once in a while when you do use it in that function. All right, let's have a look at the rest of the cabins. So it's proper privacy, and it's also an interesting or functional design if you're using it specifically as a day boat, and I'll explain that in a second. So this is the guest cabin. You come down a couple of stairs and then it is crouch room, but once you're on the berths, you can actually sit up in bed. So it's surprisingly more spacious than what you would think when you come down this companionway. We do actually have deep storage bins on both port and starboard, but the one closest to the bed head is open, and you've got this shelf here and here. So it's a perfect place to throw your phones and computers and tablets and that sort of thing. However, we do have this central one with deep storage just there as well. I see the AC and charging points on the port side of the boat, and the mattress is actually plenty comfortable. It's a foam mattress, but there's enough comfort there to have a sleep. And the genset is on at the moment, so it's actually pretty well sound insulated. So I think it's okay if you're in the middle of summer and you need to have a sleep. So this is the master. And the point I was making before we had a look at the guest cabin is that by separating the head and shower, which we're going to have a look at in a second, away from both cabins, you're not actually having to pass through someone's cabin to go and use the head. So if you are in full day boat mode, people are going to feel a little bit more comfortable with a layout like this to always have access into that head, as opposed to having it privately connected to one cabin. So just a little food for thought. Depends on what your mission is. I always sort of stress you guys to make that decision, but this is very nice, very spacious. I'll actually, just for perspective, I'm going to sit up in bed. So the height is much more noticeable in this cabin. You've got a huge amount of space. You could definitely sit up in bed here. You do, at this height, see out those windows, so you have a nice view in the morning, and then stars at night overhead are definitely going to be an option because we've got this massive Lumar hatch above us. The lighting is pretty cool, and obviously using those funky switches that we saw before, you can set the mood lighting or have the full-on down lights as you wish. Charging points on both sides of the bed. We do have storage, so this is the shallow storage, but a full hanging locker just on the starboard side, just in there. Deep storage, we've got full of drink bottles at the moment. And then if you were flying to the boat and you had to put some luggage somewhere, you might suggest that the sensible place is going to be underneath the bed. You just lift that cushion and that gets you access underneath there. But this is the head, and it has a separate shower. So super important, I know, these days, because you're all popping it in the comments. So it's an air-conditioned space, should you wish. There is an opening hatch up above, which goes into the main cabin, and we got this fancy Italian style shower head. We do have a tinted glass window just out there, and then there's actually, all of this is storage. So all of these open, that opens, this opens, so there's actually deep storage for all of your necessary toiletries throughout, so it's actually not a drama whatsoever. And that's that opening hatch just there that I was talking about before. Again, multiple options with the lighting on the cool little function there. And isn't that sink cute? I think it's nice, something different, kind of in keeping with the lines of the boat. So from here, we need to go and have a look at the engine bay, and I'll show you all the technical side. Okay, so this boat's running the twin IPS 650s. We're actually running them with the engine slightly forward, and they got a jack shaft just here. So that allows us to keep the weight a little bit further forward for center of gravity, and then the IPS unit where it needs to be. Before we get down there, this just here is the aft track for the extendable wings. So you can see the hydraulic actuators here and here, and funnily enough, it looks like a train track. And then I'll have a look and I'll show you the forward one. It's boxed in for the perspective of stopping rattles when you're underway. But just looking over on the port side of the motor, that is actually our generator. And then if we, all the way on the center line forward, we actually have our gyro. You can see fuel distribution as well. Insulation is fantastic. Holding tank, hydraulics, refrigeration. It's all pretty neatly laid out. And obviously this is going to be your primary access for the mechanics, but your quick access is that hatch forward. Before we go there, I actually just wanted to show you this. I'll just lower this down because it might be a little bit easier. And good speed on this actuator as well, so you're not standing around waiting all day for the damn thing to open. So that's useful. Just quickly show you in here, because this was the deeper storage. So we've actually got about 5 fenders in there and a whole bunch of boat stuff, boat covers and lines, easily accessible in there. And there is some press studs if you're going to be doing some windy operations. But this underneath here, see the box, see how it's been designed? So we've got these boxes externally on either side, super strong, and then a track so that mates up, I guess, like a train. And it seems to work because we've been pushing them in and out all day today, and the thing's built like pretty solid. So I'm a fan. So that's the boat, guys. Why don't I sit over here, because it's a lovely background. Tell you what, Italian Riviera, I reckon this place, Majorca and south of France, are possibly the most beautiful places in the world that I've filmed boats at to date. Jump in the comments if I'm missing somewhere, because this is incredible. Like, it really is something special, and I would just be so happy to spend a lot more time boating here, to be honest. So let's talk about demographic. Those of you who are probably going to see the most value out of owning a vessel like this, and then in terms of talking about how she drives and what you should compare her to, I'm going to touch on that in the next video, so we'll link to that at the end of this demonstration or this video. Demographic. I think it's those of you who are looking for an impact. You're not going to own a boat that looks like a Lamborghini on the water, that has an incredible amount of visual presence. It literally feels like theatre, unless you get a kick out of that. So ask yourself if that's you. And then for those of you who actually want this massive amount of extra real estate on both sides in its own unique way and enabling us to push it out at the back, that's clearly got to be something that you can attribute value to. So I guess, who are you? Probably an experienced boater, a luxury day boat aficionado, someone who's done this before, possibly been here to Europe and chartered a few boats at the upper end and know exactly how you wish to boat. You know, if you are in that sector, I'm talking to the top 1% to be fair, then you're going to have a lot of fun owning one of these. I can actually be confidently say you will. It really is a pleasure to be aboard. So in terms of how it drives, as I said, that's the next video. I'd love you to join. It's a wonderful day. We've really had a great opportunity to check out some amazing backgrounds, but it's not just about that, it's about the boat. So join us in the next video. Links coming up on the screen now. Communicate in the comments with me as well. Tell me what you think about this boat. If you are trying to buy one of these, jump in and communicate, because hopefully some other owners will see your questions, and not only me, but hopefully they will answer your questions too, and we can get you the information that you came here for. Thanks, legends. Love you lots. See you in the next one.